I really hope that this video does not end up being as much of a mess as some of my previous ones have been. My apologies if it does end up that way, but I'm just going to power through it. So today, at long last, I'm taking a look at Era CE-03 Soundwave, which is an oversized knockoff of the Toy Lab Soundwave. I forget what that figure was called, like officially, completely, but it was basically a roughly Legends scale Dark of the Moon Soundwave. And that figure was like amazing. It was terrible, but it was amazing. And like it's the kind of figure where it was sort of like the sequel to Pacific Rim, where it was bad, and I knew it was bad. It was laughably bad, but I also kind of appreciated it. It was almost like entertaining just how bad it was. And at the same time, that figure had a lot of really clever ideas going on. It just didn't really work, both because of some of the joints that they used and like some of the design was a little bit like, I don't know, and it didn't help that the figure was like like that big. It was a little bigger than that, but like, yeah, it is a tiny, the figure was way too small to be that complex. So now we have a Cyber Era oversized version of it, and this is better. It still has problems. It's still like some of that design is a little bit, you'll see, but I do think this is a cool figure. The car, as you can see, it is Dark of the Moon Soundwave's car mode with, like, I don't know this car. It's a Mercedes something, and I only know it's a Mercedes because of the logo. But yeah, it looks the part. If we bring in Movie the Best Soundwave real quick, you can see how they are relatively similar in terms of shape and design. By relatively similar, I mean practically identical. There are definitely differences, like the shape of the grille is different. The like the headlights and windshields are also different, but like the overall contours and shape and design of the car is incredibly close to being identical. It is not identical, but it is very close to being identical. So yeah, it's even like the little dip in the back of the rear windshield. So we'll look at that more when we do like proper size comparisons, but this is that car. It rolls as you saw. It's compacted in there quite a bit, though weirdly there is some space in there, so it's kind of interesting how this guy comes together. It is tricky at parts, like especially the legs, but again, I really do appreciate how they, like what they did with this. It's a really interesting take, and the results are actually pretty cool. This guy is, of course, covered in lots of little panels, but it's fine. I like the fact, too, that they use this translucent plastic for the windshield and side windows that's really, really dark and tinted, so you don't see all the robot junk in there. And the rear window is just painted black plastic. I feel like they could have just gone with the solid plastic for the other windows, but whatever. Also, unlike New Age Mista, or Mista, the brakes that are inside the wheels are actually stationary. If we bring in Mista real quick, you can see that they rotate with the wheel, and that's weird. It doesn't bother me too much, but it does kind of just irk me a bit. There's something about my detail-focused brain is just like, why though? Another thing about this is you've got the kind of gas cap looking things on both sides, but whatever. So yeah, that is Cyber Era's Soundwave in vehicle mode. Now let's do some comparisons here. So we'll bring in our usual suspects. There is Dinobot and Overprime and Samus. And let's bring this up just a little bit more. There you can see how this particular rendition of Soundwave measures up compared to all that. And we'll get these out of the way and bring in Burnout. So there he is with a modern-ish deluxe, much bigger, because this is like basically MPM scaled, I think. We looked at it before. Here he is with New Age's version. And these two, again, very similar, but there are some differences in terms of like the detailing and contouring of the car. And also the headlights are distractingly clear on Mista here, whereas on the Cyber Era version, they're a little bit more smoky, which I think is good. They stand out better. Here, not so much. Grill section, though, it's smaller on the New Age version, but the shapes are more similar than if it was, than compared to the Movie the Best version. So a little bit more here. And on the underside, it's, take your pick, whichever one you prefer in terms of how everything compacts on the underside. New Age does have a little bit of face poking through, but then so does Cyber Era. I feel like New Age hides it a little bit better. And the back. So there, it's the Cyber Era one is a little bit bigger than the New Age vehicle mode. And bring in Movie the Best. And again, just a little bit bigger, but it is a little bit bigger. And we already looked at how the details all measure up. So there they are. Let's get you out of here. Bring in our final comparison. Here is with the duck tank. All right, let's get this show on the road. So, to start, I'm going to get the doors taken care of. Just gonna pull out a little bit the side mirror. I don't like how that's sticking. But nope. See, I don't like pulling on the side mirrors because I feel like that's just asking for trouble. So instead, I'm going to resort to the spudger and just pop the doors out from up here. And with the door popped out, it tabs in a lot of... It's fine. It's a mushroom peg. I'll put it back on later. Yeah. It's a little tricky to get this guy started. And push through, maybe? Push to untab. Because it's tabbed in down here, but it's tabbed in like very, very securely. And this was kind of a problem on the Toy Lab version 2, where the doors like to pop off a lot. They don't pop off that much with this one, but they popped off so much on the Toy Lab. So yeah, that's disconnected, and it's just a mushroom peg, so I'm gonna... I didn't even do that on camera, but yeah, it's just a mushroom peg, just pop back in. Okay. So I'm going to untab this back section from here and allow this to swing out a little bit. I'm going to just keep that up and out of the way. And we will take care of the legs first. So I'm going to split this, and it tabs in, the back tabs together here, but there are also these little tabs on the rear windshield. These little tabs here that kind of go into there. And there's also this little tab here that you want to get under the trunk section. So just stuff to look out for when going back into vehicle mode. But untap this. Get this kind of back and out of the way. Now, there's so much going on with this. I want to try and untab this panel here. It's like tabbed into the tabbed into this back section. But again, tabs in very securely, which it's good that it tabs in really well, but it tabs in a little too well. So we want to untab that so that we can pull this out. Oh boy, this is going to be a mess, I can already tell. Because essentially there's a lot of stuff that has to kind of fold out, around, and past other stuff. And it's a little tricky to get lined. Like getting this thing into car mode, I was sweating by the end of it. So yeah, this just needs to, again, unplug. There we go. And then we can swing that down. That's what we needed to do. Now, with that done, this whole thing, it kind of rotates around the gas cap section. It's, as I said, kind of a mess. Actually, no, before we do that, we want to take this piece here, and this will be easier to show when we get to the other leg, but this piece here flips up and kind of sits in place there. So got to get that out of the way. Now we can rotate this around. So it's very, okay. Just want to kind of rotate it down along these hinges here. There's just so much stuff going on with this thing, but I want to rotate this around like this. Rotate this to straighten that out, and then we can straighten this out the rest of the way. And now we are on our way. All right. So with that done, this hip is kind of up like that. With that done, this rear windshield or rear window section, you want to flip this piece up, flip this piece in, and this will eventually come in, but for now we're going to leave it kind of like this. This piece here, which I'm not even sure which piece I'm talking about right now. There we go. So this piece flips out like that, and as that flips out, this flips down, and additionally flips in. So this all kind of swings in and down and around. Foot swings down, and it's a lot. And then this piece can swing in, and essentially what happens is when this comes in, there's this little tab here that kind of sits between the seams on this panel section, which keeps this from pulling back out. So there we have one leg done, but we still have to do the foot, and that is a simple matter of taking this piece that was up along here and just up along here, just fold this back around like so, and that becomes heel. And then we'll leave that hip up like that for now. Let's zoom back out because I don't think any of that was on camera. Okay. Yeah, sorry. This is just y'all are just gonna have to endure it because this is definitely a tricky transformation. It's not that I don't dislike it. I think it does some clever stuff. It's just a lot. So untab this so that this can swing out. And now with that swung out, this piece here can swing up. And with that swung up, that gives us the space that we need to rotate all of this down and around, because this has to get around the this has to get around this piece, and it is a little bit parts clashy, but it does go. And then rotate that around, rotate this around, and got to rotate this around a little bit more. There we go. Because you want to have that knee spike kind of vertical-ish. This piece flips out. This kind of rotates in, so you can flip that panel in, and then this will just stay like this for now. Want to rotate the foot out, rotate this piece down, and then fold this in so that this can tab into that little gap section. And you are not folding in the rest of it. There we go. There it goes. Okay. And now you can kind of see the heel piece better. So this forms part of the wheel well. You just move that, swing the foot down, and then this rotates around to the back and folds back around to become the heel. And that is leg number 2, barring the hips. For the hips, what you want to do is, as you can see, you've got upside down Soundwave. You want to rotate this around, and this comes in to form the proper robot mode hips. It's not a super secure connection. It does not really plug in. It just kind of sits. That is not a good design, but that's how they designed it. This joint is definitely more stiff, but it's still not a great design. I feel like it should have tabbed in. But anyway, now that with the hips in place, the legs are completely done. So now I want to fold these little pieces here out, and they kind of flush out the midriff, and that allows this section of the back of the car to fold down, and that will complete the lower body. So going to, like with the Human Alliance and Movie the Best version, you kind of want to pull these sections forward. But this time the reason you want to do it is because they actually tab into the light sections. So pull those forward, and then I find it's best to kind of rotate them out of the way just temporarily. And I will explain why in a second. So untab and pull forward and get that finagled around, rotate it, because then you want to take this little flap here and pull that up and out of the way. And doing that with these in the way is really tricky. So, got that happening. This can untab, though I don't know if untabbing it at this point will, no, okay, untabbing this at this point will not work. So instead what we want to do is untab the arms, and the arms are, oh boy. So there's a tab here that is tabbed to the inside of this silver panel. You want to untap that. Yeah. Okay. You want to untab the, there's a little tab here that sits on the underside here. You want to untap that. You want to untab the center here. There we go. Okay. And then you want to kind of roll this section down because it tabs in here. And with that rolled down, you can kind of angle this hinge so that you can rotate it to get this out of the way. Okay, now we can try and bring this arm out. It does not want to come out. So bring this out carefully, gently. It's the joint up here. It should just swing out. Doesn't seem to want to. Trying to do this as carefully as I can, but it does not want to play along. There we go. Okay. I don't know what it was stuck on, but we got it to move. So that comes out. And we will do the arm now. So this untabs this section here, untabs from this section here, and it actually tabs in a few places. Pull this out, kind of rotate it, And you can see, I think, that there's a tab here and some tabs here, and that's how that comes together. So you untab those, pull this back. This big panel is tabbed in here, so you can untab that. And this can just kind of bend out of the way. Fold this up, bring this down, and now there's this canister piece that flips up. This can shift down, and actually, we don't want to shift that down yet. What we want to do is rotate all of this around so that this panel is now facing backwards, so that we can bring this down, bring this panel up, and this panel, this big panel, this will plug into here, and then there's some tabs on here that'll plug in. Okay, that's what this is. It's these tabs that plug into here, I believe. So we bring this up, and we'll tab in like that. And oh no, okay, there you can see. You bring this up, and these all kind of sandwich together. That gives you a shoulder. This, we actually want to get this in position, which also will require getting this piece pried up. Come on. It is really tapped in. There we go. So this can come up. It can't come up because this is in the way. Oh boy. Oh, this is such a mess. It's my fault that this is a mess. But yeah, bring that down. And this can come up and out and swing out. Untab from in here too. Gotta do that. Yeah. Come on. Let go. There we go. Now, bring this up, bring this out. Okay. So now with this kind of out of the way, we can bring these pieces up and into position. And there are these little handy grooves right in here that these pieces just kind of nestle into, which is nice. I like that it acts as a guide to keep things in position. So with that done, I want to take this piece here, and this folds out and around, and it does not feel great to do, but helps to pull this out. But that out of the way. So bring that up, and then swing it in. Okay, there you go. That's much better. So there we have one shoulder done. For the rest of the arm, I'm going to rotate at the obvious elbow and to unfold the hand. And then this panel here rotates around 180 degrees and tucks in against the forearm. And that gives you one Soundwave arm. Other arm. Zoom back out into untab these. I'll bring this down out of the way a little bit. Untab these. Bend the elbow. Bring that out. Rotate this entire assembly 180 degrees. Bring up this little canister. Bring this up and get these two panels to meet. Come on. That was the big peg in there is the problem. Okay, there we go. So those two tab together. Rotate the elbow. Hold out the hand. Rotate this panel and tuck it in. And bring this piece forward a bit so we can angle this back, bring this up the rest of the way, and bring it in. Okay. Now, I want to take this entire assembly and spin it around 180 degrees. I want to make sure that everything is out of the way. As out of the way as it can be. So swing that all the way around. Now this will fold up into the torso section here. This folds back in and kind of tucks up against everything. This folds around, and I'm just going to bring the arms straight down to try and make this a little bit easier. So this folds in, and this tucks in under here. Trying to remember how to orient these wheels. I think we want to, rotate these around like this to get those out of the way. So again, gonna do the thing to get these bits kind of out of the way slightly, so we can bring this in, tab this into the torso, and then bring this back in place. And now we've got the wheels all situated. I don't know if that's right. After all that, I had it right the first time. Okay, so wheels can just stay like that for now. Arms are done. So now I'm going to take the upper body. This comes down, and there are these little tabs here that kind of slot in here. I'm going to get all that into place and push the upper and lower bodies together. The doors on the back, they fold in, and now there we go. So they fold in and then kind of accordion in like so. Actually, before we accordion them in, this piece flips up like so to complete the back, and then these can accordion in and give Soundwave his, I guess, typical Dark of the Moon Soundwave back. And then finally, take the head, push it down. And there we go. There is Cyber Era's oversized version of Toy Factory's Dark of the Moon Soundwave. And he's a good-looking Soundwave. Getting there is a process. It doesn't help that I don't have a ton of familiarity with this figure at this point, because it has been a minute since I transformed him. I just transformed him like before starting to film the videos, so I didn't. I was too lazy to take the time to like really study up and get used to, get reacclimated to all of this. Which again, mostly on me. But this is it's a cool figure that has its very specific drawbacks. But I do like it for what it is. As you can see also, he's a little bit fiddly in terms of standing. I mean, he stands, but yeah, he looks incredible. Like, he really does. For this design of Soundwave, he looks incredible. Like, obviously, if you don't like this design, you're not going to like this figure because it's this design. But I actually really like how the proportions, the legs are cleaner than New Age Mista. I will give them that. Like, the arms they look a little bit better. The shoulders look more accurate with the little spires and everything. It's a really nice looking Dark of the Moon Soundwave that is a bear to get transformed back and forth. Not, it's not, it really is sounding like I'm just going to complain, but like, again, like, there are a lot of good ideas here. There are a lot of interesting things that they do or try to do. with the design and make it, a transforming figure, because that design is absolutely insane. So, of course, it's not going to be easy to turn into a physical object. And I think even though it was a bit of a faff to get to this point, you do have a really incredible looking Soundwave, and the car also looks really good. So I can't fault it for that. I just fault it for the engineering. But even then, the engineering is not so terrible. I would still give it to New Age Mista, whatever, in terms of engineering. That is, once I remembered how to do it, was totally fine to go back and forth. But this guy is definitely a process. But I also will say, having it oversized makes a massive difference. Like, doing a figure like this big with this engineering was a nightmare. But again, it was so bad I actually found a lot of amusement in it. But like, this size fits this engineering much, much better. Though, as I said, there are some differences, primarily in just a couple of the joints, like the way that the doors and the little wheel bits are attached. I do need to tighten this up, though. This is absurd, but it's not too terrible. I can work around it for now. I did have some issues with some of these joints, like being really loose around here, but it was just a matter of tightening some screws. Like these joints here were a little bit on the loose side, so it's like just access the screws and tighten them. That's all it took. And yeah, this guy looks amazing. The color separation is great. There's a lot of painted bits on this guy. There's even like little copper accents in the arms. I love the way the torso looks. It bulks him out really nicely in the midsection. And yeah, it's a cool looking Soundwave. And the head too. The head is also really nice. I particularly like what they did with the eyes, because they painted the eyes red and then painted yellow pupils in the eyes, which looks really good. And this head looks really good for Dark of the Moon Soundwave. It sits a little bit weird. Like you kind of have to hunch him forward a little bit, but that does work for his monstrous design. But at the same time, if you wanted to, you could always lean him back a little bit and then just use that transformation joint to tilt the head up slightly. And you don't even really notice. So you can do that. Yeah, the sculpt on this thing is great, and I love what they did with the eyes. And by great, I mean the sculpt is like very nicely detailed. But yeah, if you're not into this design for Soundwave, I don't think you're going to love this, but I do think that they did really good on the head. Now for the articulation of this thing, you've got a ball-jointed neck, or ball-jointed head, so you can look up. That's about as far down as you can look, but you can use that joint to kind of fudge looking down slightly. You get a little bit of side-to-side tilts, and you can look left and right, but you kind of have to account for all the stuff going on back here. The arms are a bit of a disappointment. They can go around this far, because this is knocking into this. You can go forward or back that far, so like that's pretty much all you're getting. This little tube thing does get out of the way as you're rotating, so there's at least that. Going out, if you move this out of the way, that's as far out as you get. Because there's just no room for things. If you disconnect, if you start unplugging things and untransforming figure, get this more back and out of the way. Okay, so if you detransform him, you can get the arm out all the way. But unless you do that, you're not getting very much. I'm going to plug this back together now. Come on. Come on. Don't embarrass me in front of company. Come on. There we go. So yeah, you're not getting a lot of outward motion on the arm. You got a bicep swivel just above the elbow, and then an elbow that bends to slightly under 90. The wrists are ball jointed, so they can wiggle a bit and can, of course, rotate. And there's also an extra joint in there that allows the hand to fold in like that for the transformation. The thumb is ball jointed, so it can go up and down and rotate. I should zoom in so you can actually see some of this. So yeah, ball jointed thumb, but there's also a hinge joint and a hinge joint, so you've got some extra articulation there. And he's got 3 fingers on each hand. Each finger has 2 joints built into it. So pretty well articulated hands. For the waist, there is none. Does not have a waist at all. So you're not getting any waist movement. For the hips can go forward about 90, can go back about that far. Nope, a little farther. The hip skirt's bumping into the midsection. So it can go back, can go out. If we get this arm out of the way, can go out that far. You also have this joint if you want to use it. There is thigh rotation. Because of this thigh armor here, it's only really going to go out that far and in that far. But I feel like that's enough. There is a knee, and it is a little bit tricky because you actually have a joint inside the leg as well as this obvious hinge joint. And the obvious hinge joint is really the main knee, so that gets you 90 degrees. There you go. And then for the foot, you get what kind of works as outward tilt, but that's really for the transformation. What you actually are using for tilt is this whole section here, and it's not much, but you do get some tilt. And then you can also use the joint there for forward and backward motion on the foot. That was one that I definitely had to tighten when I got this guy initially because he was a little bit wanting to lean forward or back, take your pick, and it was a little bit annoying, but it wasn't too hard to fix. So yeah, that is the articulation. He does come with some accessories. He's actually got he comes with the same Ravage and Laserbeak that New Age's Soundwave comes with. These are the New Age versions, but the Cyber Era versions are the same. So he's got Ravage and Laserbeak. So he comes with both of these. But he also comes with translucent versions for some reason, where they're just uncolored clear plastic for some reason. I don't get it, but that is a thing that this one comes with. It also comes with 2 guns. They do look more or less like the guns that Soundwave had in the movie. They are not blast effect compatible as far as I know. You can kind of wedge the thing in there, but this is not 5mm compatible. It's not circular. It's like oblong. So you can wedge the blast effects in there. It's gonna warp the the actual blast effect port and peg, but you can do it. But these can go in the hands, as one would hope, and that's just a matter of getting the thumb out of the way and then pegging. There are 2 pegs on either side of the handle, so you just peg that into the hand, curl the fingers around it, and curl in the thumb. And now he has gun, and because he comes with 2, you can give him 2 gun. So do this a little bit closer. Here you can see the tap slots on the inside of the hand. Fold the thumb out, bring this in, peg it into place, peg it into place. There we go. then curl the fingers around, curl that finger around the trigger, and there we go. Articulation is a little bit lacking, like the lack of a waist swivel, and it's a little bit tricky to get some things to work and how you have to detransform the arms to get them to go outward very far, but like you can get them into some dynamic poses, which I do, I appreciate. And again, this guy does look incredibly cool. That transformation is not as much of a nightmare as I made it look like. It's just I'm out of practice. It is a it is a transformation you have to practice, though. It's the kind of thing, like, I'm not trying to toot my own horn. I'm usually pretty good at remembering transformations or parsing through, like, kind of stumbling my way through stuff, even if I don't remember it, because I can kind of grasp the intended order of operations. This thing, I was able to do it without looking up a video or looking at instructions, but it's more complex than, like, it's the kind of complex that doesn't really gel with my brain as well as other transformations. Anyway, here he is with a standard deluxe. So there is that. Now let's bring in the movie The Best Soundwave. They are about the same height. Very different aesthetics, but about the same height. I still really appreciate this guy. I know a lot of people don't like Hunt for the Alliance, Human Alliance Soundwave. I do. And here we've got him with New Age Mista or Mista, whatever. And I mean, I prefer Mista, whatever. I do. I genuinely prefer this guy as like a figure. There's a lot of stuff that he does that I like. He's got better articulation, like unquestionably better articulation. He has a waist swivel for one thing, which, there we go, has a waist swivel. So there is that. But, he's got messier legs. They still work. They just are messier. And his proportions are definitely not the same, which I believe also counts as inaccurate, I think. But I don't know. I still like this guy. His shoulders come out a bit far. His head looks a little bit puffy. But not puffy, but like, I don't know. It just looks a little bit more bulbousy compared to what you have on Cyber Factory's oversized version. But still a cool looking Soundwave. Oh, I knocked his chest out of position a little bit. I will say, the way this guy's chest works, like, it's awkward to come together, but when it comes together, I like that it's like you're not worried about this getting knocked out of place or anything. But yeah, here he is with New Age's rendition, which, as I said, has better articulation. Doesn't quite look as good, but I still think actually looks really good on its own, in its own way. They're different interpretations of the same figure or character. Different interpretations of the same rendition of the character. And there he is with the duck tank. Okay. I've been recording for over an hour now, so I'm going to stop. But I finally did it. I finally made a video on Cyber Era's Soundwave, and I kind of also did one on New Age Mista. I don't know, maybe someday I'll eventually give Mista its own standalone video. But yeah, I do like Mista as its own thing. It's a cool figure with some things that I would have preferred to be different, but whatever. Also, I've got these rotated around this way, but you could totally do them other ways if you want. I just kind of prefer doing it that way. But yeah. That is it for Dark of the Moon Soundwaves. And this is a cool design. I like this design, even if it's kind of awkward to look at, especially if we bring this guy back in. He is a little bit of a weirdo, but I like this Soundwave design for what it is. And I do think, again, like looking at all three of these, because these are basically the three options we've got at this scale. I know there's the Deluxe Studio Series Soundwave. My problem with that figure is a lot of the unpaintable plastic that they used for certain parts, so it's just kind of like a dull gray in a lot of places. And also the bits popping off. But yeah, at this scale, these are your three choices. And of the three, I feel like there's no contest. As much as I like and prefer New Age Mista as a figure, as an interactive physical object, this thing is better. In robot mode, it is unquestionably better looking. It just has better proportions, really nice detailing. I mean, Mista does have nice detailing too, but the detailing on this stands out a little bit more. The proportions are better, the shoulders are more accurate and look better. But if it comes to transformation, I don't hate this transformation, but I prefer transforming this over this. But I don't think you can go wrong. If one of these appeals to you more than the others, that's the one you should get. But that has been enough. I've been talking for way too long, so I'm going to stop. That has been my look at Cyber Era's oversized rendition of Toy Lab's Dark of the Moon Soundwave. Again, works way better at this scale. What are your thoughts on this guy or these guys, any of that? Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all. And I'm pretty sure by the next time I sit down to record something, it's going to be something actually new. Which means by the time the video goes up, it's probably going to be old. But we'll see when we get there.